Hey guys, welcome to Saturdays with Pace and Jesse. We've got two very, very special guests. Sage, Rage with Sage, Eric Sage, also known as the note professor right now, I think. You're focusing on notes right now. Dani Crowell. Not Crowell, guys. Do not mess that up. She'll be super pissed. It's Dani Crowell. And we're going to talk today about mentorship, right, Jesse?
Absolutely. So I'm super excited to talk about this. So I guess, do you want to dive in first about how you've got some mentorship with Pace? Because we've both been mentored by each of the people we're sitting next to in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, honestly, one of the most important people I met in the last year and a half was Eric Sage. And where that came from is I was watching Steve Tring's podcast, and I had just got some really bad news, the bankruptcy thing, right? Somebody filed bankruptcy on me, and 3 days later, he goes on Steve Tring's podcast talking about passive income and how you don't want to keep chasing the check and all that kind of stuff. And I'm thinking, if I spent the last 4 years of my life actually building cash flow, which is a hot button for you right now, if I had been chasing the last 4 years, not even chasing it, like literally spending 10% of my time on passive income, when that bad news came, I would have been like, yeah, whatever, I have checks coming in next month.
Exactly. You
But
shift your
instead,
mindset toward that. Yeah.
But the person, here's what happened. I reached out to him because I go, I know this is something I need to learn. I know I have leads for this. And so I reached out to him. I asked 3 or 4 people for his information, sat down with him at Starbucks. And it's not that I wouldn't be able to read books or watch videos on YouTube and all that kind of stuff. I did all of that. But part of it was I needed somebody to give me permission that a real live human being had also taken that journey. And that's what this gentleman had mentored me through. Basically took my hand and said, yeah, dude, you're overthinking it. Here's how you go do these things. And then we went and started working together. And so he probably doesn't look at it that way, but he's been a tremendous benefit in my life as a mentor, even though he's not a paid mentor.
Right.
Well, mentorship is 2 things. So initially when I got my very first deal, I had a full-time job. I was in corporate America. I was selling diapers for a medical company,
I never knew that.
I didn't know that
No,
either.
I had no idea.
I was a diaper salesman.
I knew you were an elevator
So I
salesman.
went from elevator sales to diaper sales. Diapers was my big deal because it was long-term care. So that was what I was selling. So anyway.
Wow.
During the day, that's what I did, and then a buddy of mine goes, "You need to start looking into foreclosures." So I'm like, "Okay, I'll."
When was this?
Yeah, what year was this?
2004, 2003.
Okay.
Yeah, 2004. And so I got a list off the internet that's nothing like it is now, and I went and door knocked in my neighborhood where I lived. I lived in Chandler at the time, so I went and door knocked and got my first. I door knocked a house on a Friday. This guy answers the door. So picture the biggest lineman for the Arizona Cardinals. That's who had answered the door. And I'm like, oh my God. I said, hey man, sorry to bother you, but I think your home is going to go to foreclosure on Monday. And actually it was Tuesday because it was a 3-day weekend. He goes, no, it's not. It's taken care of. And he slammed the door in my face.
Wow.
I'm like, okay. So I went back to my car, ripped off a piece of paper, wrote my phone number down, went back to him, knocked on. I says, hey, if something changes, call me. That was it. No phone call, no cards.
Nobody else would have done that, by the way. Most people are just like, wow, okay, whatever, and they feel defeated and they just shut their car door. They might even have gone home. They wouldn't have even have continued knocking doors. You were like, hold on, let me give this guy something.
Yeah, so I came back. I said, hey, man, if something changes, give me a call. Well, the phone rings. That was a Friday. That Saturday morning, phone rings, and it's his wife. And she goes, Eric, yeah, we are losing our home. So because their bankruptcy was discharged, so their house was going to auction. They hadn't made payments in years. It was a $58,000 reinstatement.
Wow.
So what's the first thing I did? I called my buddy that sold me a retail rental property, which his buddy was the listing agent, and said, hey man, I got this house that's in foreclosure. It's going to auction on Tuesday. It's a 3-day weekend, whatever. Can you help me? And he's like, I don't know. I'm an agent. I don't know what a foreclosure is.
Right.
I'm like, okay. So, and this will go back to some of the conversations we're going to have today, but I just had played golf 3 weeks prior with a buddy of mine that does foreclosure bailouts. But no one knew what he did. No one knew that that's what he did. He just made a lot of money and was just kind of under the radar. And they're like, hey man, you need to call Marty. I think he knows what to do. So I called him up and he goes, dude, what house? And I go, this is the house in Chandler in Warner Ranch. He goes, dude, I've been door knocking that house for 1.5 years. How the hell did you get it? I'm like, I don't know, timing, right?
Consistency and timing.
So anyway, so long story short, we his wife goes into labor the day of the reinstatement. He's in the hospital having his baby. He goes, dude, show up to the hospital, pick me up. We'll go get the reinstatement check because we'd already got all the. We went back and met with a seller, got the contract signed, went back to. Showed up to the courthouse. He was kind of under the radar. He didn't want anyone knowing who he was. So I actually walked up to the courthouse steps, stopped the foreclosure. So fast forward, we're 2020. Guess who still lives in that house?
The
seller.
You're kidding me.
No, I get chills because it's like that was my deal, and I saved
That was
their
your
house.
first deal ever.
Yeah, I saved their house, and then so
they rented it from you, or?
Yeah, so they did a lease purchase.
Okay.
And then they refinanced it because the market went out, and then they refinanced it, and it was a shame because the guy actually was an Arizona Cardinal football player, and he had lost all his money investing with bad crap, right?
Wow.
And so they're still there. So I literally drove by there. I think I have a video. I was going to post it.
Did you call Marty and tell him that?
That they're still there?
Yeah.
Yeah, we still talk. He's a real estate investor. He's a coach. He's a great teacher, right? He's a great teacher. So what we did is he goes, man, that was awesome. Here's $3,500 and you're part of this deal until it sells or whatever we do. So that was my first technical wholesale deal. Cool. I didn't even know what it was, right?
Wow.
So then I did another one with him, and then another one, and then another one, and then another one, and then we had all these deals, and I had my own money, and I quit so I made more money doing little wholesale subject to pre-foreclosure deals than my job, and that's when I quit.
So Marty's the one that basically helped
started
you.
me. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, but here's the greatest thing about what we're talking about mentorship. Like, you guys mentored you mentored him, right?
Right.
But he you helped him. He didn't take advantage, and he took action, and you guys made a ton of money together.
With
probably,
mentorship.
Right?
So tell us the story where you guys because I don't really know that story at all.
Right. Well, just to what your point is, you've got people who I'm sure you get calls and emails and texts all day long that are like, "Can you teach me what you know?"
Right.
And it's like, in that case, there was an equal exchange of value. You brought deals and you said, "Help me close this." So and that's something that Jesse did too, was put me to work. Just I want to come in. Basically, what I was doing was I was bartending at the time. That's how I knew Jesse.
Of course.
We were working in a Mexican
No,
restaurant.
I worked
Were you a
there
client?
too. No.
No, he worked there too.
I worked there with
Sorry,
her.
no, yeah.
Oh,
we worked
right.
together.
He was always at the bar every night.
Yeah, so we worked together, and then I had met an investor who I got really lucky. I was, 21 years old. I was just getting out of college, and I had met this investor, and he was living out of California, and he would come to Phoenix because he knew in 2010, 2011, this was a great place to be investing. So he was Israeli, and he had a bunch of Israeli investors that were overseas and pooled all their money and came and just bought 10 to 20 houses a day, and we were just doing a ton of business. Yeah, he was doing a ton of business, but it was super unorganized. So when I met him, so this is my experience with mentorship, is I came into his business and I sat down one day and I'm like, what do you need from me? I'm here to learn. I have a finance degree. I don't know what the hell I'm going to do with it, and put me to work. And he was like, look around, figure out some holes, and try to fill them. Do what you got to do to help me out because I got a lot going on.
He just knew he was scrambling. He needed somebody to come in and help him.
Exactly.
Got it.
So I'm like, how are you doing your accounting? And he was like, it's Excel spreadsheet here.
Oh.
So
especially with that many houses, that's
yeah,
scary.
I know. He had homes he didn't even know he owned.
Wow.
Yeah, but it was a good opportunity.
Pace
We're
has
buying
that problem
houses.
right now too.
You've had that problem too.
Oh, yeah.
So let's.
Yeah, it's a good problem to have.
I have
but-
a home Mesa I've been sitting on for 8 months.
Well, you own it.
Yeah. So anyways,
You're
long
gonna get
story
it.
short, I hired a QuickBooks tutor to come in and teach me how to do QuickBooks.
Love it.
And I just said, I'm going to figure this out.
Talk about taking action. Like he says, find something that will, and you went out and actually got your own tutor so you could turn around and bring value to somebody
Exactly.
that, right.
Exactly.
I love that.
I knew I had a good opportunity. He was paying me $500 a week. It was nothing,
Right.
and I was like, I'm just going to grind for the next few years. I never asked for a raise. I just knew that I was getting value from him.
Right.
That I was going to be able to turn around myself. I wasn't even really thinking about myself at the time too much. It was just like, let's grind and learn. And so that's what I did. And
You probably felt really good that you were actually using your finance degree to a certain degree. You went from did you quit at any point on the bartending side?
Yeah, no, I quit.
She did.
Yeah.
Because of that guy, or as you transitioned into that guy?
Yeah, I just didn't have time.
Got it.
I'd rather work around the clock, and which I did. I mean, I worked 60-hour weeks working for him just because I knew the job had to get done. And so, so I was working. Then he would start coming less and less and less and less, and then it was like once every 3 months he would come, and I'd be running everything, all the flips, all the QuickBooks, everything.
Rentals.
I was dealing with the investors. We had a property management
Talk about
company.
he got some major value.
Yeah, we partnered on.
So
a
he was just a
management company.
capital raiser. That was his main unique ability.
He was he had a really good eye for opportunity and the market.
Yeah.
He was the kind of guy that in 2007 he pulled all of his money out. He met a taxi driver and said, that guy's got a Rolex on and I don't think that we're in a good market and I'm pulling all my money out. He was just like
Everybody
really
else
smart.
like doubles down. They're like,
Yes.
oh my gosh, I'm missing out on the market, and they would have doubled. That's really cool. You
Yeah.
were lucky to get.
I was taught by him, like we sat in a little room like this where I was on a little computer desk and I just sat there and we faced each other, and he would work on his computer and he'd have the news on all day, and I would ask questions and he would answer them. So I just got to know like the market from a very wise eye early on. I was 20 something. So
Wow.
Where's he at now?
he owns a company called Hummus Republic in LA, and they switched into franchise model for restaurants. So
Like a fast casual restaurant.
Cool.
Yeah.
yeah, and that's when we parted ways, when I started to kind of do my own thing and he wanted to get into the restaurant
Do
business.
you still have mentors in your life?
And that's a good question. So today when we were talking about doing this, I'm like, I don't have a testament too much to today because I had a good opportunity there that I capitalized on, but I didn't take that theme and move on with it, which I need to do because
You can always move up, right?
yeah.
In my opinion, it's like, sometimes you switch it over to like, who do I want to be?
Yeah.
So go find that person at that time. Right?
I feel like he has more than one. I feel it's same thing with me. I feel like
yeah.
I have 5 or 6 people that I go to for specific things. Sage fills my void on probably 2 of those things. But you've got so many people you probably get mentoring.
Yeah, but the greatest thing about technology today is your mentors could be a podcast.
Right.
I mean,
Oh, yeah,
I
then
mean,
in
so
that case I
that
do.
doesn't have to be you physically have like Tony Robbins in your
That's a good
office,
point.
but Tony Robbins is everywhere.
Right.
Like if that gets
That's a
your
really
mind
good
right.
point.
So, but for me, what I've been doing, I'm 47 years old now. I have two kids are getting there, and it's like, who do I want to be now, right? Like, so I go try to find people that, and it doesn't mean that what I'm finding that they have to be older than me, because some of the people that are younger than me are kicking ass right now, like that bring energy to you too. So
Right.
so there's kind of that combination. Sometimes the older people don't understand what's going on in today's world.
Right.
Like
I'm
they just
older
don't.
than her.
Yeah.
And so
No, so it doesn't
I
have
learned
to
from
be.
her.
I mean, Pace. I mean, the energy he brings. It's just been a blessing. All of this group that we have. But so I'm just searching every year. Like right now, I'm really focusing on notes, right? And because of the cash flow, like buying bulk notes from all over the country, 23 different states. I'm looking at a deal right now, and the majority of the people in that industry, they go buy passive income. And if something goes wrong with one asset, they freak out. Like we're like that doesn't even bother us. Like my wife's my business partner. I'm like, if something went wrong with a house here, first of all, you probably would. She knows most, but she's never been to half of these places. So
Right.
does it really matter if it's in, Birmingham, Alabama, or Phoenix, Arizona? So
Right.
anyway, so back to the cash flow thing. So now it's like, who's a master of cash flow? And then I have to look at who I am as a person. Well, I feel like I'm a really good salesperson and relationship guy, but really not super analytical. And now there's an analytical side of this business that you can really get hurt by.
Right.
Like really hurt if you're not
Right.
careful.
You've got guys like Nick Legramaro. You've
Yeah.
got like Mitch Stevens' group. You've got who's the note school that you were just going to?
Oh yeah, Eddie Speed and those guys.
Eddie
But there's
Speed.
there's
Yeah.
attorneys. What I found is the engineer guys that are doing this business now are the best partners.
what's your partner used to do?
Materials engineering.
So engineering, like they're
Wow.
so like so
Yeah.
now I'm
Casey-
reaching out to
Casey
those
Ryan
guys.
as well. He
Yeah.
was engineer as well. They're building these incredible systems and processes to where it's like, fuck, dude, how do I compete with that? Like, because I'm like you, I'm relationships and sales.
Well, you partner with it.
Well, luckily
Or
I have a
you-
partner that 2 partners actually that
Well, how did you guys link
Right.
up? How did
Okay.
that all work?
So yeah, so I was working at, and we were both working at the Mexican restaurant, and
Was
and
it a good Mexican restaurant? Because now
Yeah.
we're getting like
yeah, it
kinda
was
hungry.
good. It was where the Adeline
We'll go after.
is
We'll
now.
go after this.
No, it's not there.
No, I said we'll go get
Oh.
Mexican.
Okay.
Anyways, so I remember Jesse and I just kind of, we were friends, and then he saw what I was doing, and just kind of said, I want some opportunity to get into this. I see you're doing all different cool stuff, and I mean, then I brought him in, and you were doing Airbnb for us, right?
Airbnb, finding flips, and then a little bit of placing people in the property management
So
side.
he came in with me and just worked side by side with me under Nick, the investor.
And she gave me the same tough love he gave her. Is like I'd ask her and she'd be like, figure it out.
Love it.
Yeah, he gave me, yeah, exactly.
I don't see you doing that, but that's pretty
Oh
cool.
no, she absolutely did. Like if I come to her, she's like, "Did you try and figure it out?" And then she'd send me
Ooh.
right back
Yeah.
over.
I love that.
And then she'd let me embarrass myself too. So like I started looking for flips on the MLS when you could still do that. And she'd like make me figure out how to offer.
Yeah.
And I didn't know what earnest money meant, so I'm talking to like a realtor, and she's like, "Well, you didn't do the earnest money." I'm like, "Oh yeah, totally, my bad." And then, but like once you feel stupid and embarrassed,
Yeah.
you learn, and you don't do that mistake
I
again.
tell that to my employees too. It's like, I want you to feel embarrassed. I want
Right.
you to ask stupid questions
Just
because
fail.
you will not make that mistake again.
Right.
You know, you
And,
learn.
you know, I
Well, hold
learned
on. Let
pretty
me ask
quickly.
you. Let me ask you a question, because you get to a certain point where you've done 100 flips and you've done 500 wholesale, and you're now buying multifamily. You guys are doing Subto and all that kind of stuff. You have people reaching out to you all the time. Help me. I've got a question. Help me. I've got a question. Why would you choose to take somebody like a Jesse, not him specifically, but as a mentor? Why would you take on a mentee? What are the characteristics of that mentee that make them a good mentee? Because again, this is a show for people that are trying to learn how to get into this business and find a good mentor.
For sure.
They need to understand what are good characteristics to be that person so you can be absorbed. I didn't go to Sage and try and drain him. I try to bring value to him, and even still
I
to
think
this
that's-
day.
Yeah, I
right?
think that's what it is. There's different kinds of mentorships. You've got a mentor, like you went to somebody with a deal and they taught you how to do it, and
Yeah.
they got, everybody made money
Yeah.
on that deal.
Yeah.
But then there's also a mentorship that's like, I see that you need help in your business, and I'm willing to work for you.
Right.
For a certain amount
Which
of
is
money.
what he did.
Yes.
For a certain amount of time, yes. And then I left, started, and then I got my license, and I started finding her deals because I was good at it.
Right.
So I was
she's your buyer.
she's
She's
my
your buyer. You're like, all I got to do is go find these deals and make whatever I want.
Yeah, I was
to
like,
Exactly.
okay, this is
It was
this is
never
great.
like a one-handed or a one-sided like teach me.
Right.
She
you
just
wanted to be brought in and given an opportunity.
Yeah, I was finishing college at 29 years old. God forbid, it took me way too long. I apologize, Mom and Dad. But I was looking for a sales job, and she's like, I think we might be hiring. And and then I started bugging the shit out of her. I'm like, yo, when are you hiring? Because she's like, we're going to hire somebody, or you maybe. And it took like 4 months, and I just kept bugging her. It's probably really annoying. But I wanted to do it because I was so proud of what she was doing. It, like how we all are now. She was absolutely obsessed with what she's doing, and she loved it. And I'm like, I want that. Like, I'll figure out how to do it. And then I just tried to help them as much as I could and soak up as much as I could. I wanted to go to the flip side.
Dude, what I really like about this is, again, we get, all four of us get people that reach out to us all the time. What I notice about Jesse is that you saw an opportunity and you said, you're not saying teach me, teach me, teach me, and you just sit there like a sponge with no action. You basically said, give me the opportunity and I will make sure that my efforts will bring you fruit. It will bear
Yeah.
you fruit.
It will take
And-
something off your
Right,
plate.
but
which is
I'm
what I
going to
needed.
work for the education. I'm going
Right.
to bring something to the table, which
Yeah.
you get a lot of people that reach out to you like,
give me.
give. I had a guy, no joke, 2 days ago, right before Jamil and I flew out to Orlando, sends me a message on Instagram. I replied and I said, hey, give me a couple days, I'll get back to you. Then the next day he sends me a question mark. Then the next day he sends me a question mark. Then he sends me this morning, right before I'm about to go through and clear everything out, he says, I see how it is, blah, 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 blah. You act like you want to help people, but you really don't.
Yeah, I hate that.
And I'm like, man, this is going to be a great conversation to talk about. If you want to be mentored or you want to be helped by somebody, there's something you have to bring to the table, right? You have to
Make
understand.
it seem like you're not asking to start with. You're bringing something.
So, but if you're a beginner like I was,
Right.
I mean, I was actually very blessed. I was successful. I was making a great living when I did it, but I knew it was not what I wanted to do. And so now, with technology back in 2004 was not like it is now.
There was no
You guys have all, and I have too, spelled it exactly what we want,
Right.
which is, this is the type of deal I want. fortunately for us, there's about 10 different things that we want. So all you have to do is watch us. And I just did an Instagram post this morning. I'm like, hey, check out this old crappy house next door. Look at this beautiful $1.2 million house. Well, I found a house like that and sold it to the guy that was going to build that. And I made a nice amount of money, you know? Like that's a start of a wholesale opportunity, right? But we all know right now what we want is cash flow.
Right.
So how much cash flow do you need to get your, you know, I can promise you if somebody brought me an opportunity or you an opportunity and it was laid out properly and they just needed the financing or the funding to get it done, we'd be more than happy to bring you in on that deal.
Right.
Now that starts your cash flow idea.
For sure.
Well, that covers your car payment now.
Yep.
Right.
Now it covers your rent, and then it just starts to add up because that's how I want to grow my business now because we know how much overhead it costs to run a big company, right?
When you have
Those
the,
cash flow things will eliminate that or at least break even on that, and everything else is a bonus.
when
right?
you had the guy, he reached out to you while you were selling diapers. He reached out to you and said you should get into what?
So as a
Who
friend,
told you to
so
actually-
my buddy that I used to rewind, I played golf in high school, golf in college. Then I played professionally for a few years on like the mini tours, okay? And me and my buddy traveled together. So my buddy and I both retired and forced retired. We were not playing golf for a living anymore, couldn't afford it, but we were done. And he mentioned it to me. His
So
name's
did
Matt.
he teach you actually how to door knock or did he give you
No,
a
he
script?
just said, this is my unique ability.
This is what I'm trying. I'm trying to lead. I'm
Yeah,
leading the
okay.
witness.
So he goes, go on, here's a list, and I don't even remember the name of the list because it's not like it is today, which is way better.
Right.
But I found a list that really, truly had people in foreclosure. That's all I had. So what I did is I sorted it and said if I could just door knock a few houses a
That's
day.
so crazy to me. Like nobody told him to door knock. He was just like, I have a list. I'm gonna go start knocking doors.
Like, can you, but literally, hey, and this dude walks up, I'm like, oh my God, you're huge. And then, but I can't wait. I actually wanted to go back and I know they still live there because I researched
How did your door knocking journey? Did you stop knocking doors after you started getting deals, or how did that look?
So here's how it went. So I got my first deal. So then my buddy Marty, he actually said, no, there's a better system behind it. Like, you got very lucky. And I'm like, yeah, well, I mean, that's the way it is. And my wife's like, this happens to you every day. I'm like, well, it isn't luck. It's just the way it is.
It's
the
not.
universe.
It's
man.
energy, man.
I
So,
agree,
Yeah.
100%.
so anyways, so then he's like, no, this is the system. So then he goes, go door knock 10 houses a day or as many as you can from 10 to 2 on Saturdays. Because why? It's when the people are home.
Right.
So that's what we would do. That's what I would do. So he'd give me a sheet of houses in a specific area, and then I would do it. And then I got bored, or not bored. I got it. He didn't give it to me fast enough. So then I created it myself. And then I just started showing up with contracts. And then he had his Honda Accord to his, C-Class Mercedes to his AMG, and I'm like, dude, you cannot drive that. Get in my
Right.
Civic, and we'll go drive over and do deals. And then now you don't even need to come with me. You just have the money, and we'll do it. And then eventually so that's I don't know if I answered your question, but
No, you did.
but this is what I try to tell people in this business, and it's in every business. Find out what you're great at, and you can be an engineer and not have to talk to anybody.
Well, that goes back to one of our videos.
And then go
we
find
did.
the person that likes to talk to people,
Right.
and then bring them part. as
We did
employees.
a video on visionaries and integrators.
Yeah.
So that's like find your right counterpart. But the other point I wanted to make is a lot of people want to start learning wholesale and start making all this money. Like I took it a different way. I went and worked for somebody. I wanted to learn.
Yeah.
Everybody thinks that they need to just go do it on their own. Like
and all of a sudden they're doing $100,000 a month. That's like what people's expectation is. Like, watch 15 YouTube videos, go knock a couple doors, couple cold calls, and I'm making $100,000 a month.
Well, that's the problem, Pete. That's why people don't do mentorship, because you're not gonna. You have to humble yourself enough to not make any money.
Right.
You're getting paid in education.
Yeah,
And-
you were getting paid $500 a week basically to run this dude's entire company.
Oh yeah, and he was making bank.
You
and-
got a finance degree, but then you went and got a PhD in real estate.
Yeah, exactly.
So what took you from working for him, watching him make all this money? Was it age that you're like, oh, well, he's older, so he should make millions, and I should make $200?
More natural than that. It was like I started flipping one or two on the side. I bought my own house.
And he didn't care?
He didn't, but then it started to bug him because I was shifting away
Yeah.
a little bit, and it started to become, okay, let's maybe not. We liquidated.
Weren't
our
you doing it
property
together
management.
or something
We were
like
doing
that?
it together. It just started to feel a little bit sour, and
Because now
he
it's
was
yours
a
and
family
not
member
his.
to me, and I just didn't want to have that sourness anymore. And so
Yeah.
we both kind of said mutually, this is something that you're going to go focus on this, and I'm going to focus on this. And that's
Smart.
And then I became her, she was my buyer. So I went and found her stuff. And then I started, seeing a little bit of money. And I'm like, huh. And then started learning about wholesaling. And I was like, all right, this girl's really smart. And then my friend moved in to the same place that Jared was living at. So I met Jared. And I was like, huh. I was like, I got this girl that's really smart that knows how to flip homes. This guy really understands systems. And I just felt something special with him. Like, I can't explain it. And I was like, well, I know each of them, so I'm going to put the three of us together. And then what we did was then we created a company, and we went from 0 to nothing, like really, really quickly. Like,
What year did you guys link up?
2015.
Oh,
Right in the
really
middle.
recent.
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't. I was with the previous investor till like the month that we.
Really?
Wow.
yeah. And then
A
I
long
put the.
time.
and
So
then-
is he still in all his homes?
No, he sold everything.
Cashed out
Yeah.
again.
Yeah.
Well, we actually didn't really hold much. We were turnkey providers.
Oh, you were? Oh,
yeah.
okay.
So we would buy everything
In this market?
in that market in 2010 to.
No, I mean like in Phoenix market.
Phoenix
Yeah,
market.
yeah.
Yeah, in this market.
And the
Turnkey's
turnkey
a
one.
really big model here.
No,
It
back in
was at the
10 through
time.
13
Yeah,
when
wow,
everything
okay.
was
Yeah,
dirt
got
cheap.
it.
We were buying for 10, selling for 30, and then we were property managing,
I see.
and then we were buying their homes back from them when they wanted to sell, flipping them to the retail market.
Yeah.
It was a crazy model.
Did
and
you
it was a
learn
lot of
anything in
work.
that?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
You learned the
I've
whole
seen it
gamut,
all.
like A to Z. That's pretty
But that's what I'm
amazing.
saying is I provided value to her, worked my ass off. She taught me a ton.
Right.
And then then she trusted me enough to like partner with me to where
Yeah.
we brought something together because I brought enough value, I guess in her eyes. That's something she could answer. And then we created this badass wholesale company and went from, we didn't know what the hell we're doing. We're putting out bandit sides at night. We were doing the mailers, everything that everybody did. But we were just so relentless. We would be, we were even had our own mail machine to where we're licking envelopes like 5,000 at a time.
Yeah.
We'd stay up all night long. Like, that's what some people don't understand is like, we were there too. So everybody thinks that we got to 100K a month overnight. We did all the steps that everybody
No,
normally does.
it's really good for people to hear this stuff because you have to understand that what you're benefiting today, the reason you're in this room, the reason you guys have a relationship is because of things you did 3, 4, and 5 years ago. It's crazy to see the domino that you set up that tips over and all the stuff it impacts is like how you got here today. So people that don't take action, I think that's kind of the undertone of your guys' relationship. Like,
Yeah.
ton of action on your part to go work for that guy, ton of action on your part to bring her value. You guys just took action, and then you excelled and got to where you are to the point where you go, okay, we're going to go do our own thing.
Right.
Right.
Like you were so successful that you had to break up the partnership to go do your own thing. Like you kind of outgrew your skin, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because of the action you guys took, right?
It's just kind of exactly.
What happened to your relationship with Marty? How did that?
Same thing. I grew out of it. We had I provided. He got what he got out of it, which was I just was just an ultimate bird dog.
Right.
Yeah.
And then there was no need for me to
But it's
be involved
okay.
anymore because I had my own money. I knew how to raise capital. My wife and I got married in 2005. And she had a hedge fund. She was running a hedge fund.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
She had, and she worked with one of the biggest self-directed IRA companies. So we understood how to raise patient private capital, and that was it. Like
Yeah.
that was it. Like we could go. The market's exactly where it is now, where it was when I started, except we didn't have adjustable interest rates.
So I think the
So that's why
challenge
with Pace
on-
and I.
on a mentorship like your guy and your relationship and my relationship with Sage, like our relationship has changed 4 or 5 times just in the last 12, 15 months, right?
Okay.
So where it's like we grow, we do something, then a new idea comes in, the whole dynamic of the relationship, because him and I are very similar in the sense that we can kind of flow. But the challenge with like your guy, as a good mentor, he gave you amazing opportunity. The challenge is, as the mentor, when do you know when to like let that person go out on their own and how to be okay with it, if that makes sense? That's a tough
That's a tough
thing.
question.
That is a tough question.
Because we ended up, parting ways too. She started dating Jared, which I'm glad they're happy. But that changed.
Baby's coming soon, I hope.
Talk to Jared.
That,
Wow.
That
Is he
changed-
having the baby?
yeah,
No,
right.
you know what I mean.
That changed. that definitely changed our dynamic, and we decided to part ways, and thank the Lord that we were able to, be okay with it. There's some,
always a rocky road. Like
there's some
that
hurt feelings
transition,
for a few
right.
months, but we got through it, and I am so much happier now because she was my friend first, like one of my best friends.
Right.
And working together, that kind of changes things, and I'm glad that we're still able to do things like we're doing today because like her friendship means more to me than our business relationship.
So this is interesting. So I have this new show that's coming out with a probate attorney, right? And he sets up a lot of partnership agreements. He does a lot of estate planning and all that stuff. We're going to do a weekly show. And one of the things that we talked about this morning on the phone is he said, I want to talk about partnership agreements because a partnership agreement, the first thing you should talk about is when is the exit before you even start.
It's so true.
So
Right?
cool. So
So
cool.
hard.
I literally, this is great. So this morning, I'm driving to go golf, and I'm about ready to buy a 70 note pool in the next couple weeks. And I'm partnering with somebody that I've never partnered with before, right?
Right.
And so I'm thinking about it, and I'm like, you know what? So I sent him a video. I'm like, hey, man, I've had some partners. I typically don't want partners. I don't need partners. We're providing value. Maybe we're not, whatever. We need to really line out because we're going to have a marriage here for a little bit. It could be for a long period of time,
Right.
who knows? But what happens when shit doesn't go well?
Exactly.
What's going to happen? We need to have this lined out. So I sent him a little video, and I said, it's not that I don't want to do the deal. It's not that you're not providing value to me, but no one has these conversations.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Those agreements are for the divorce, not the
Yeah,
marriage.
yeah.
And
And
it's
but-
tough
but
doing
here-
that at the beginning because you're excited and you don't
You
want to
don't think. No, we actually, fortunately for us, I partnered with somebody that had some economics behind you. You knew how to make money, and I did too. So one or two of these, or
Freaking-
three or
it was
four
such a
deals.
great
we spent
year.
a lot of money and did some stuff and did we made a little bit, whatever. But the point is, if you don't have any money, you better know what your responsibility is in the relationship and the partnership.
There are partnerships. I've seen other people that they are amazing human beings. They were friends before. One guy has some money. The other guy has some supposed skill. And guess what it came down to? It didn't come down to the money. It came down to this guy's skill is 4 hours. He wanted only to apply 3 or 4 hours a day. This guy's working 12 hours a day. Even though the money that they were investing was the same,
Yeah.
it wasn't a money conversation. It was how much are you putting in and how much am I putting in of my effort. So this guy's bringing relationships to the table and closing deals and doing all this stuff. He turns around, this guy's on a trip every 2 weeks. So that's another conversation that needs to be had inside of a partnership of or a mentorship. Like, hey, if I'm going to mentor you, these are the things I expect from you and all that kind of stuff. And it's going to end. Here's our exit, all that kind of stuff. Those conversations need to happen. I see those partnerships end all the time, and people freaking hate each other.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's so common for young investors to
Yeah.
want to avoid those conversations because it's not a natural conversation to have.
Right.
It's awkward, and it's going to be, but you'll get better at it.
But if
and
you have them in writing,
yeah,
at least we know.
Yes.
At least we have at least we have a target of what we're trying to accomplish,
Right.
good or bad, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that I have a question for you guys because you guys all have. I've scaled back and have less employees than I've ever had, and more contractors. You're kind of in the same boat as me. You have a few more, but how do you our business when we're in it? I mean, it's not. There's nothing really proprietary, right? So you bring on these team members that see what you're doing, and so when you're hiring them, there's certain people that you can immediately, you're like, okay, they want to be me, and this is never going to last immediately. So when you underwrite or interview people, but there are people that love to just support and be a part of something big, but you can only pay them what that job entails.
Is worth, right? So,
Right?
so the way I've been solving that for the last 2 or 3 years is I tell people, I said, I don't want you working for me in 2 years. So
Okay.
we need to have that. Every one of my acquisition people, anybody that's an income provider, not like a clerical
Sales type.
right, sales type,
Yep.
because you guys have salespeople and you have salespeople. At the end of the day, what is a salesperson? It's an entrepreneurial-minded person that wants to close deals. So they are your competition. I don't know any acquisition company, wholesale company that has had a guy in the acquisition department for 5+ years. They leave. right? They go do their own thing or whatever.
I think there's two different types of salespeople. I mean, there's a lot, but in this conversation, there's two. You've got your entrepreneurial person who's there to learn your systems, learn your sales, whatever. We have one of those, and he does, that's one type, and I'm okay with that. And I know
you knew it going in.
Oh yeah, we had the conversation going in,
Yep.
and I mean, I thought that he was going to bring good energy to the team. There's a lot of things that he brings in return. It's not just putting numbers on the board.
Right.
I thought he was going to better the group as a whole. And then there's the other type, which is an employee mindset. Sales guys can be employees. And
So I agree. I'm just saying I approached that interview. So Anna on my team doesn't want to ever run her own thing.
But even salespeople.
See, that's
she's in sales. She has income producing stuff. So for her, she's like, I just want to have a place to come every day.
Right.
I don't want the stress. I don't want any of that stuff. But I approached it as
security.
Right. I approach it as
and she doesn't want to deal with all the stuff that comes with business owning.
So she's not crazy, basically, like all of
we're
us,
all
right?
nuts.
So I approach that conversation with every single person. I say, where do you want to be in 2 years, and how do I get you there? If you are the entrepreneurial person, I want to know that so I can help you get to that point in 2 years.
Good. Yeah.
So when you leave, and it might be 12 months, but when you leave, we don't have any animosity, and you actually bring deals back to me that you go and produce on your own.
You know what I love about that is you got a time frame,
Right.
and then what could happen is they know that, and then they bring a business opportunity to you, and now you become a partner with them in something.
That's cool.
So they actually add even more. They're like, hey, I'm going to sell, but by the way, I found this land deal. What do I do? I don't know. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
The acquisition person.
I'm
you
asking
have-
you that right now.
Yeah, I know.
Did you guys put a time frame on hiring him? You guys
Yeah.
had that conversation up
Well,
front?
we had discussed a year.
Okay.
And I mean, I think a year's not necessarily enough.
But it's just a good target.
It is. It's just good to know. I think that the conversation is important to have up front. This is both sides of our expectations.
So
Or
here's
it's a 90-day trial
here's
period,
my last
too. Yeah,
question.
that's true.
I know I've asked a lot of questions, but this is a question for what's the guy's name? Nick that you guys work for, the
Nick.
Israeli
Yeah.
guy. So if Nick had come to you, Dani, and said, "Hey, I'm going to make this a 3-year endeavor. Where do you want to be? How do I help you get there?" My question is, would that have changed your mindset in the beginning, good or bad? Would it have soured you and you've been like, I'm not going to be here forever, and he's supposed to be helping me build my own thing and all that kind of stuff?
I don't think it would have. I think it would have made me more like alert to a time limit. And in my mind, I was so young that I was
Right.
like, I'm just here.
You
to
didn't even
learn.
know what you didn't know.
I didn't know what I didn't know, and I didn't. Along the way, I started learning, and I was so naive at the time that I just knew I had a good
You're
opportunity.
like, why does this HUD have an $85,000 check
Yeah.
coming back to here, and I only made $500? Where's my money?
I didn't even think about it.
Right?
You know, there's
You know,
these
you were just-
young kids that are looking around. They're looking up too much. They need to look down and work hard on what you're doing.
I had that problem
That's
a
a
little
good.
bit.
That's a good point.
I was seeing all the money being
Let me see
made
if I have
around
any
me,
questions
and
on
I was
this
like,
Facebook.
I want to make some.
Yeah.
You know, and
Yeah.
that's just me.
You were
And-
older at the time than
yes.
I was.
But-
I was. a little
But
bit
so
younger.
here, there's one point I wanted to make real quick too. Is talking about what Pace was saying, the entrepreneur guy versus somebody that, wants to stay and grow in your business, is if you're running a good operation and they're a true sales guy, they just want leads.
Yeah.
So like that's all I try and work on a lot of the time is like
Their
they
spot.
trust myself, Annie, and Evo. They're like, I don't think I could beat them, but I think they could give me a ton of good leads, and I could just sit here and close deals. So we have a guy right now, and I think he's entrepreneurial too, but he obviously likes to, he just loves getting leads and getting deals, and that doesn't make him better or worse. It makes him who he is and what he's great at. He doesn't want to go generate leads. He doesn't want to do these things. So,
Or he probably won't.
or
I'm very similar. Like, I need a rainmaker. My wife's the rainmaker. She brought in the rain, and I closed the deals.
so
That was it.
Yeah.
my whole point is it's just, if they believe in you and your company and your vision and you're aligned, it doesn't make them not. They're a business owner inside of our business, and that's how I try and make it.
Yeah.
And I'm feeding you the conveyor belt, but there's some people that are just gonna want to go do it, and maybe they have that skill set. But it goes back to what you're saying. Maybe they bring, I brought her an opportunity. That's what I ended up doing, was exactly what you said, is I worked for her, then then she was my buyer, I worked with her,
All right.
and then we worked together.
But
Yeah.
but it also goes back to the question of, and a lot of times the younger younger group doesn't really understand it. But I want to make $5 million, $10 million, $100 million. But what is it? What do you really need? What do you really need, and what do you really want? Because having a bunch of cash in the bank is really not that smart,
Right.
right?
Yeah, no.
Not
It's
at
like,
all.
what does that produce
Nothing.
to give you the opportunities to take care of your family and do philanthropy and have a company, And so what you guys are doing is great because you guys really have a good vision. You have good people around you,
Yeah.
and you have a good team, and everybody shows up. And running a company isn't easy. There's a lot of emotions and a lot of things that go on with it. But I think if everybody's on the same path and you have the right people in the right seats, it
Yeah.
really helps.
This is something I think, like wrapping this whole conversation up, going back into how to find a mentor, right? So you brought something up I really liked, where you were like, look, you need to keep your nose down and work. Like that's what you bring in value, right? So I do ride-alongs with people all the time, and people are saying, how do I get into the business? How do I get in the business? And being honest, I say, go work for somebody.
Yeah, I think that's the best
Truly
way to
go work for somebody. They have all the risk. They have all the stress. You get to get paid. Not be a lot of money, but you're going to get paid to learn $1 million business by bringing value to that person. So if somebody wants to find a mentor in wholesale or creative finance or note buying or anything like that, that's what they should be doing, is saying, how can I work for you at a low wage so that I can learn this? And I would love to put a timeline on it, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
Timeline's obviously important. So for you, who would be, maybe it's a podcast, maybe it's a book that you're reading, maybe it's somebody you look up to, whatever it is. Where do you think you get value from a higher level right now, somebody you would consider a mentor?
I listen to podcasts, Michael Blanc, he's in multifamily. So
Nice.
multifamily syndication, that's something that we're looking at doing, and I have a whole new world to learn over there.
Right.
So I get to listen to that and do it every morning. I've considered, and Jared and I have talked about it, if we had a 100-unit complex, would we try to take that on ourselves, or would we take that as a bird dog to someone bigger and then learn from them? You get a small percentage, but then you get to see how a real operation manages that.
Fast track of all the systems, the
Yeah.
processes, all the bumps and bruises they had along the way.
Exactly.
They
Take
cut
our own
that out of
advice.
the-
We're
And
talking
so
about right now.
even me, having run a full-on business and having, I got the single family down, we are even going to go get mentorship through humbling ourselves enough to go and be a part of something rather than take on the whole thing
Love
and
it.
possibly fail at it.
Love
so.
it. What about you, Jesse?
A lot of it's you guys. I surround myself with all three of you. I look to you in some sort of mentorship, and all the other people in this building too. I think we all get that out of each other in some way, shape, or form.
Right.
And I've done it by partnering with, kind of like what you're doing. I've partnered with people or brought opportunities, or I'm doing some development stuff too, and I didn't go do it on my own. Actually, let me use a better example since you're sitting right next to me. I got 50 mobile home pieces of land, and I came to you instead of, I knew we could do this on our own,
Right.
but I wanted to do it with you because you know mobile homes, you have dealers, you have all these things, we have the land.
Right.
I would rather do it with you because it's fun to work with your friends too.
Sure.
Right.
And I don't need all the money and all the stress. The more people that could do all these different things it makes everything easier for the whole entire process.
Speaking on that, I appreciate the opportunity, by the way.
Absolutely.
So we set up an arrangement where there's a specific amount of projects that we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
There's a specific percentage, and everybody has clear expectations what they're bringing to the table.
That's
Yes.
good. That's
It's
awesome.
amazing. So I don't need to break that down, but we did that in the first 20, 30 days, even though we had already shook hands and said, great.
We changed it actually because he found someone to partner with, and he's like, yo, if we do it this way and then you get this, and I was like, so I just get to help a little bit now and still make almost the same amount? And I was like, sure. I didn't flinch. We're like, done.
Yeah.
But he found a way to leverage someone else, not in a bad way, in a good way.
Right.
And then it all worked even better for all of us. So I was like,
But even if
Let's
I was
go.
going to bring a 100-unit to this some large syndicator, I would want to be boots on the ground. I would want to be
Of
involved in
course.
that, even
You
though
wanna get
I
your
don't
hands
have
dirty.
to be. I want to know, and I learned that from my dad. He was a Harley Davidson dealer, and he had me work in every single department of his business
so
he
amazing.
wanted service,
Right.
everything, because he wanted me to understand from every not in the details too much, but every single department how that operates.
But-
so that's the same thing in this case.
but didn't we do that in our businesses too?
For sure. I mean,
Because we sat there and did everything.
and if you don't, you feel handicapped a little bit by not being able to catch somebody, or they don't know that they won't get caught as far as an employee when you delegate.
Not saying we're great at it, but you still, like, when you're starting it, you have that org chart, and you're the owner of everything. Like, you still need to know. Not saying you have to be great at it, but if you don't know, then how do you train or teach?
Right.
You just can't.
Sage, what about you?
Yeah, what about you,
Where
Sage?
are you currently getting your mentorship, whether it's from an outlet of education or peers that are in the same business as you or what have you? Or podcasts even?
So I think, for me, I think it's surrounding yourself with amazing people, number one. I learned that from you. Like, you create it.
Right.
You create meetups.
Right.
Like, seriously, like, people just come and you're great at it. You're great at it. I mean, it's like that's important. Just getting around people, getting out and just speaking. Because, I mean, we've been around this enough. People need our help. But really for me is I'm more on the spiritual side of my life right now. Like, I really, really focus every day is what am I grateful for? You know, who can I pray for? And then ask for massive abundance. And then when the abundance comes, take action.
Right.
And so I'm kind of, and I can't give you a specific person who I'm really, really who my mentor is behind, other than my wife, because she's amazing at that. But so we really focus on that. And then in our business side of it, I would say our number one thing for 2020 is know our numbers. Know our numbers, like literally, like, because as salespeople, you can just keep selling and literally like not making any money. You're like, oh my God, look at this. Boom, bunch of money. Oh my God, look at that. And then all of a sudden, so if you don't know your numbers every day, and we make chunks of money and we have cash flow, right? We have a little bit of both. So it's not always perfect, but if you're just watching it every day, if I was going to give any advice on that, I mean, it's easy for us to, we spend a ton of money.
Do you set goals and then try to measure those goals against what you do?
Yeah. So for me, it's how many notes am I going to buy this year, and what's that cash flow on top of what we already have.
And then what you reverse engineer into that, saying I need to raise this much capital, I need to do this, and
Right.
that.
Yeah. So if I want to buy 100 notes this year, what do I have to do for the year, the month, and the day, and the hour, literally, to do that? And you simplify it. Like my nephew is a great golfer. He's 16 years old. He's
just got a scholarship.
He just got a scholarship. Yeah, he just got a scholarship, so it's exciting. And he sent me his goals. And it was all like, I'm gonna win this tournament, I'm gonna shoot this, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do this. I'm like, well, that's awesome, but how about break it down to like every day what I'm gonna do, and all that'll just happen.
That's great.
Right?
Yeah.
And it as a golfer, like it's like life. It's I don't know, I relate it to that as an athlete, but that's just how life is. It's how business is. It's like you want to work out. Like, okay, I want to lose weight. I'm on a you know the 9,000 burpee challenge? Are you on that with me?
I'm not on that with you, but I should be on there. And I already know, because I know you, that's the alarm that's going off is your burpees. It's telling you.
Is it?
Yeah,
Is it really?
It is,
That's
yeah.
It's
hilarious.
9,000. I've done 1,100 burpees. I'm on day 11.
Is this why you're always in a tracksuit?
Yes, that's my new outfit. For 3 months.
So
all right.
lastly,
Anyway, so that was my
Pace,
mentor.
what about you?
For me, I have multiple places that I get edification and mentorship, mostly the group of people that we've created together. It's amazing, like I was telling somebody this the other day, is that as you create a wolf pack, the wolf pack kind of monitors itself. That if there's somebody inside of there that's not acting appropriately, they kind of slowly get phased out. Have you ever had relationships like that or partnerships where like they just kind of get fizzled away?
Sure.
The group kind of filters that out. So in my nucleus, it's been nice. We all have kind of built a relationship. There's probably 20 to 30 of us in the Phoenix market that are really close. Social media is a huge lubricant for that. Like, it allows us to communicate very quickly.
Yeah.
So that's a really big thing. Watching and seeing what other people are doing is super inspiring to me. And then specifically on a mentor side, I still go to Eric Sage on creative stuff.
Yeah.
Right, and now he's going and venturing into another channel. This is what's cool. He's cutting through with a machete, and I'm just going to follow right behind him about 6 months
I
later.
do that with her.
Right.
I was like, she's smarter than I am. I'll let her do it.
But along the way, not to toot my own horn, and not to get into specifics, but it's like I see things in his business that I have. Like, for example, he needed a full-time construction crew.
Yep.
I have 10 years of GC experience. So I took one of my crews and I said, boom, here you go. This is your crew now. Like, let them run. And now it's bolstered what he already had. You know, now he's got another person. Or he says, hey, I've got a house and there's kind of this tricky permit because of the such and such. And I go, no problem. Let me jump in there and help you out with a permit.
Yeah.
So he's not paying me for that monetarily,
No.
directly,
Correct.
but I'm getting millions of dollars of value just getting the shrapnel of his energy.
Yeah.
And so I've got people like Eric and other people like that in my life that I go, how do I provide value to you that you're missing? And so daily, my goal is to say, what do you need in your life? What do you need in your life? What do you need in your life? And just try and deliver that to people all day
So
long.
that's actually my biggest challenge with her. And she's one of the only people is I ask a lot from her a lot, and she doesn't do that quite. That's not
Like she
something-
doesn't open up and say, I need this.
I'm
You're
the
very
person
guarded.
I'm talking to or talking about who doesn't ask for help
Right.
very often. I don't.
And I'm trying
And
to.
there are things that I could that you do well, you know, like being more active on social media, things like that I don't do.
And you're here
naturally.
today. So
I know,
so I did help for
You
once.
did help.
Yes, you did a great job.
But like she's one of the only people I could provide a lot of value, and you know we do a ton of stuff together, and she's the one that means the most to me. So I'm like, how can I help her? And I try and think, because I mean, she helped design the building that we bought here. She helped design my backyard, a lot of stuff that you don't know. And then going to partner with Amy and Evo, I lean on her very heavily for some stuff like that. So she's like, not just like business, but like in life too. Like I really lean on her for a lot of stuff, and like she's just good at a lot of things. So
Thanks.
I'm thankful for that.
That's awesome. Well, why don't you wrap us up, Jesse?
So guys, I guess I'd say, you know, mentors come in a lot of different ways and shapes, and some are paid, some are not. And I think we basically touched on unpaid mentorship today.
I wanted to bring in one thing. So for me, I'm not a social media guy. My Instagram has a very few amount of posts, but 2020 is going to be the post, and my goal is to give as much as I can from my past experience and current stuff I'm working on for free.
How
Yeah.
can people
So
find you?
Eric J. Sage.
And then
Eric, the ERIC, the letter J. You changed yours from that, but
I took the J out because it was confusing. I was Pace J Morby. People were confused. Was it J-A-Y or just
Yeah.
the initial J?
well, mine's the initial J, Sage. So follow me. I'm going to start. That's one of my things is what can I give back on my social media?
You're doing a great job, by the way. It's like when I first met you, I was like, you have more amazing, real content than all these guys who are making millions of dollars coaching that are making fake content.
Right.
Guys like you need to be producing and doing all that kind of stuff, and it's not like it takes you that much time.
Oh, I love it. I
Takes
mean,
you a
literally,
couple
I'm
minutes.
driving
Boom.
home from the smoothie shop. I'm like, oh my God, that was a house I did. But I did a little video and boom.
Right.
But I think all of us, as mentors, because we are,
yeah.
if we could do that for everyone out, for other
And
people.
I'm trying. He's motivated me on that as well. So
Yeah.
like you've really pushed
You're the
this charge
master.
of
He's the master. Follow him first,
what?
and then if you get bored,
Smoothies?
follow us.
Your content, you bring people together. You're
Oh,
the
yeah.
master at a lot of.
and
Yeah.
you give away so much free stuff. Like we're sitting here on a Saturday paying somebody to give away this for free.
Right.
Yeah.
Are we not doing that?
Yes, shout out big time Bobby. He's in the other room doing the old switcheroo. We are paying him to be here, so we are paying somebody to give you guys
And
this
then
content.
Danielle, how do people get a hold of you?
Instagram, Danny_Crowell. CROW.
Did you guys hear that? Crowell,
Crowell.
not Crowell.
Crowell.
He'll always say Crowell, I think.
No, Crowell. I'm gonna get it.
So thank you everybody for joining us today. We had Saturdays with Pace and Jesse. And
That's it. Thanks,
That's
guys.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.